We talked earlier about pushing forward the president's agenda, his attempts to do so, while over in the House, the Freedom Caucus is urging leadership just to skip the August recess completely if necessary, work on health care and tax reform. Congressman Mark Meadows, Republican congressman out of North Carolina, is the chairman of the Freedom Caucus, and he joins us right now from Capitol Hill. Congressman, good to see you. Thank you very much for coming on.
Donald, great to be with you. Thanks so much.
Where are you with leadership on this, Paul Ryan and company?
Well, obviously, we've got three things that are critical to the American people, and most Americans could care less what happens on Capitol Hill other than what affects them. And so we need to make sure that we get tax reform done. We need to make sure that the health care repeal and replace effort gets done. And additionally, we need to deal with the debt ceiling. Those aren't surprises. That's not a very aggressive agenda. We need to get it done. And
is your leadership open to that?
Well, you know, obviously, they're not wanting to do that. Leader McConnell has supported that, but I think if the American people let their voice be heard, it's going to happen. I can tell you that when you feel the pressure of the people back home who take a week's vacation, they believe that we need to show some real results, and if we don't have results, we shouldn't have a recess, and that's what we're trying to highlight. Let's be serious about an agenda.
Understood. Now, I think the argument against it is to say something like, hey, the Senate and the House are different. You guys have already taken care of health care on your end and many other bills as well and sent them over to the Senate where they have to take them up. And also the Senate has to deal with confirmations of the president's appointees. You don't have to deal with that. So it's a different animal. You could go home, have your town halls, and talk to your constituents, no?
Yeah, and so to suggest that we do not have a full agenda in September, where we're going to come back with less than 30 legislative days to try to not only fund the government but raise the debt ceiling, to do all these things, is just ludicrous. So to suggest that we don't have enough work to stay in, that's something that is not plausible.
You mentioned tax reform. Let me get a quick question for you on that one. I know the Tax Policy Center came out with these numbers today saying the Trump tax cuts, as they've been outlined, at least the last time they were talked about, would be a $7.8 trillion cost, and they would help the rich far more than anyone else. What needs to be done on tax reform that maybe isn't being talked about so far?
Well, I mean, we do need to be bold about tax reform, but it's not just about giving the rich a deduction. It's about making sure that hardworking American taxpayers get the same treatment. And so for us, our plan that we put out was looking at a corporate rate to get it down to 16%, but also looking at doubling that standard deduction, which puts $1,500 in the pocket of everybody. If we look at a longer budget window, we don't run into some of the issues that are talking about cuts. And many times they don't look at the dynamic scoring, the economic growth that comes from that your viewers out there know all too well, that when you lower corporate rates, you get the economy going again, and that's what we must do.
A lot of people would have liked to have heard it, some tell us, even before you dealt with health care, but that's obviously something that can't be dealt with now. Now, one thing that still hasn't been dealt with, and I know you'd like to see it be dealt with, is the wall, the border wall, and the funding of it. You have conservatives saying a government shutdown is possible if the funding for the border wall is not included in the spending bill. Shutdown, really? Is that worth it?
Yeah, I don't know that we'll see a shutdown. We have Republicans that control the Senate, the White House, and the House. And if we can't get one of the primary pillars of President Trump's campaign done, then shame on us. We've got to quit letting it be 8 Democrats in the Senate that control the purse string. So the question is, are the Democrats really willing to shut the government down over $1 or $2 billion? If that's the case, we're going to find other creative ways to make it happen. We're already working with the administration to do it. We're going to build the wall without a shutdown and make sure that it happens.
We'll talk more as we get closer. Congressman Mark Meadows, the Freedom Caucus Chairman. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.